And good evening, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Welcome to another episode of Steelers Friday Night Six Pack. I am your host, as always, Tony Defio, and I thank you for joining me on this lovely Friday evening. I mean, it's a little rainy out. Is that the right word? It's a little dreary, but it's nice. We're on the doorstep of summer, and I am so happy. I'm so happy we're past winter, as I say every week, because I whine about winter because I'm getting old. And I want to be in Florida. Maybe. I don't know. Florida's kind of weird, but maybe somewhere like Hawaii, whatever. Anyway, so thank you for joining me. And before I continue, as always, I'd love for you to please like and subscribe to our Behind the Steel Curtain YouTube channel, where we bring you live shows like this one each and every day and night. And earlier tonight, we had the Touchdown Under show with Matty Peverell and Mark Davison. You can catch that every Friday at 5. We have this show every Friday at 9. We have the Hangover on Monday with Brian Anthony Davis, yours truly, and Shannon White, the great Shannon White. We have the Scobro show every Tuesday with Dave Schofield and his big brother Rich Schofield. We have the Curtain Call in the off season, Know Your Enemy in the regular season, and that's with Jeffrey Benedict and Shannon White. We have the preview on Thursday with Jeff Hartman, the editor, Dave, the editor, and Brian Anthony Davis, the podcast producer. See, we have what else we have? We have Bad Language on Sundays with Brian Anthony Davis. We have the Steelers Q&A. I was a co-host with Kyle Kreis last Sunday night. That was a fun show. That's every Sunday. I'm sure we run the North with Kevin Tate. I think that's. I think I covered enough of our live shows, and we have so many. It's hard to keep track. I have to put a wristband on, like Kenny Pickett's gonna have to do this year, so I can remember all the shows. And you can catch all those shows again on YouTube live, and you can also catch those shows on Facebook Live. Which, if you're watching me right now on Facebook, you know that. So hello, Facebook. Be kind. And you can catch all those shows after the fact on any audio platform of your choosing. I like iHeartRadio. I have it downloaded on my Roku channel, and I listen to my show all the time to get better, and to other people's shows to be informed. And you'll be informed too if you listen to all of our shows. So please check those out. And of course, we have a whole audio-only family of shows that we bring to you each and every week, including the half-hour Power Hour, or the 1 hour with Chris Pugh, that show. What he's talking about with Kyle, that's a great show. From the Cutting Room Floor with Jeffrey Benedict, the Live Mic with Michael Beck. I think we still have that show. I'll have to check. The Stat Geek with Dave Schofield, the very popular flagship Let's Ride with Jeff, the War Room with Maddie. And again, you can catch all those on any audio platform of your choosing. We record them, we stream them, and then you can find them anywhere on any place where you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our live shows after the fact and our audio-only shows after the fact. So please check that out, and check out Behind the Steel Curtain, the website. We bring you news, commentary, film breakdown, anything your little heart desires. When it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, we have it for you. So please check us out. You will not be sorry. And of course, let's check out the live chat. And I know who was number one tonight, and that's Jared Devil. I saw him with the was it the peace sign, the peace emoji. Ivor is with us. George Teston, Steelers Pittsburgh. Brian Brown. Claude Bishop. I haven't seen Claude in a while. Welcome, Claude. State of the Steelers. I like that. And he says, "Hey, Steelers fan, just finished my live sip of Steelers. Might as well still drink it up with Tony. Haha." Is that one of our? I don't know. Is that another show we have? Maybe it is. We have so many shows. But as the title suggests, we're going to talk about the third phase of OTAs, and we'll start off with Danny Owens joins us. Hello, Danny. He says hi, Tony. Anyway, we'll start off with talking about the presence or lack thereof of defensive end Stephon Tuitt, who, as you know, missed the entire 2021 campaign due to multiple reasons, I think. I mean, there's the tragedy involving his brother who was killed in a hit and run accident last summer. And of course, he had a knee injury. So those are the two reasons why he was out. I'm not sure which one is the root reason. Well, we might never know that. The Steelers haven't really said anything definitive in that regard, and neither has Stephon Tuitt. So we'll never know. All we know for sure is he wasn't there last year, and he wasn't at OT. He hasn't been at OTA. So that's a matter of discussion. It's been a matter of discussion all week. You know, my stance on OTAs, it's like, you know, they're voluntary. I mean, I realize a lot of people get upset about it when certain players don't show up, but it seems like it's, like I've said before, it seems like OTAs, people only notice when there's a reason attached to why the player isn't there. Obviously, Stephon Tuitt, he missed off last year. He's not at OTAs right now. So it's leading to speculation about his future. Is he done? Are they going to cut him? There's talk about him being a June 1st release or a post June 1st release. And when I say talk, I mean among the fans. I really haven't heard that with regards to the media, but there's been speculation in that regard. What do they do if he doesn't show up to minicamp, which I think initially was supposed to be the middle of June. I was looking at their website the other day for the article I wrote for Friday, but then I found out that it's the 7th. I think it starts. So basically, you have about 10 days before minicamp starts, which it's basically just like OTAs. It's football in shorts, but it's mandatory, and I guess it's a little bit more involved when it comes to drills and 7-on-7, 9-on-7, that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if he's going to be there, and if he's not going to be there, what happens after that? Do the Steelers will they make a move if he's not there? Do they already know he's not going to be there? Because that's the thing. Maybe they have already reached an agreement that he will not be there till training camp. We don't know. I mean, I'm obviously putting the cart ahead of the horse because he very well might be at minicamp. But if he's not, is that reason to believe that he's done or that they're done with him? Or do they have a prearranged agreement that he will be back at the end of July when training camp starts? We might never know that because I think the Steelers, particularly Mike Tomlin, I think they take great pride in keeping the media in the dark. What did the late, great Tunch Ilkin once say was Chuck Noll's philosophy, speaking of deceased legends, legendary Chuck Noll. And Tunch said that Chuck's philosophy on the media was keep them in the dark and feed them manure. So I think in a way, Mike Tomlin relishes not telling the media what they want to know about Tuitt's situation. So we may never know what agreement's in place between them and Tuitt, if there is an agreement at all. Maybe they're expecting him to be at minicamp. So I don't know. But it seems like this is only a big deal, like I said earlier, when something's attached to it. Like Deontay Johnson's not there. He's not at OTAs. And as you know, he's looking for a new contract. And they don't normally give second contracts to receivers. They've only done it twice, Hines Ward and Antonio Brown. And when you look at the market for receivers now, you can make a strong case that Deontay Johnson is in the market for a contract that will pay him what they paid Antonio Brown 5-6 years ago when he was the best receiver in the NFL and when the market was about 17-18 million. That's pretty much what the going rate is for starting number one receivers, which you can make an argument that Deontay Johnson is that. Now, is that the reason why he's not at OTAs? I don't know. It probably is. But if he was skipping OTAs just because, would anybody care? Probably not, because the media wouldn't be harping on it, because there would be no reason. There would be no reason attached to Johnson's absence. And quite frankly, I mean, I realize it's fun. It's fun. It's great for the site and for podcasts. It gives us something to talk about. But I almost wish there weren't OTAs, that we would just skip right from the draft, and then the schedule review, and then you have mini camp, which is mandatory, and then you have training camp. Because these OTAs, I mean, it's just another reason for people to sort of take sides, and people to get upset, and for there to be arguments on social media and talk shows, people to just get all riled up about these OTAs, which again are voluntary. So there's really only one solution, and that's to make them all mandatory. Which, I mean, if it would be negotiated into the CBA, then these players wouldn't have a leg to stand on, and if they did decide not to show up, it would be a holdout, because that's what the definition of a holdout is: when you don't show up to something that your employer requires you, when your employer requires you to be there and you don't show up to that. That's the very definition of a holdout. You're missing work without cause or without notice or whatever. So, but they do have the OTAs, and they seem to go on for months. It seems like there's really when did the OTAs start? I should know this, but they start I guess in April, maybe right after the draft, and they last all the way through mini camp. They're off and on. They're periodical over these next 3 months, April through June, and then they have a month off, and then training camp. So my advice to football teams, team owners, is just to fight hard to make these mandatory. And until then, you can't really say anything publicly against them for not being there. Otherwise, you look bad. But I'm not so sure how much the players and the coaches really care when their teammates and their players don't show up to OTAs. I'm not sure if that's as big a deal as we make it out to be. Cam Hayward spoke to the media about Tuitt on Tuesday, and he seemed fine with it. And I mean, to quote him, he's the team captain, and he said, "I've never had a full attendance at the OTA." So I wonder if they care nearly as much as we do about this stuff. And again, do we only care when there's something else attached to it, something causing the player to miss, that kind of ruffles the feathers of the fans and the media? And in Johnson's case, that would be money. So I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens when minicamp rolls around, because if Deontay Johnson doesn't show up for that, that's definitely a holdout, because he's supposed to be there. If Stephon Tuitt doesn't show up, maybe he had an agreement with the team, or then again, maybe he's just not, his heart isn't in it, and it would then be time for them to make a decision about their relationship moving forward. So that's pretty much all I had to say about OTAs. Actually, no, I wanted to say a little bit more about OTAs, and it was interesting to see Mason Rudolph taking quote unquote second team reps, which I don't even know if you can even call anything first, second, third, fourth team reps when it comes to OTAs. But the if you look at the totally unofficial depth chart at quarterback, and Rudolph is second, which, I mean, it makes sense. Mitch Trubisky was brought in to be the starter, and Mason Rudolph was already under contract. He's been here for 5 years. He's theoretically in the mix to be the starting quarterback next year. and Kenny Pickett and Chris Olajuwon are draft picks or rookies. So that's nothing. There's nothing unusual about that. But yeah, when you watch Twitter and people reacting to that, it's almost like they're offended that Mason Rudolph. It's funny. People are mad that Johnson and especially Tuitt aren't at OTAs, but they seem to be equally as angry that Mason Rudolph decided to show up and participate and throw passes and stuff to his teammates and talk to reporters and say that he still believes he could be the starting quarterback. People are like offended by that. But to me, I like that kind of confidence. I like the fact that he's here. I mean, there haven't been any rumors of him asking to be traded or released. He hasn't shown up with a bad attitude. Like you hear things with, Baker Mayfield and how poorly he took the trade for Deshaun Watson. You haven't seen anything like that with Mason Rudolph. He's been at least visibly, when in front of the cameras and at practice, the consummate professional. And he actually does seem more confident this year than he ever has. I mean, I don't think any of us could ever, truly realize what it must be like to be the quote unquote understudy of a franchise quarterback, especially one that maybe isn't very happy that you're there. Ben Roethlisberger, I don't think it's any secret that he was not a big fan of Mason Rudolph's presence. I think he felt threatened by him. And that's you go back to, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, Joe Montana, Steve Young. Not that I'm saying Mason Rudolph's on that level with any of those quarterbacks I mentioned, but you hear stories from former all-time great quarterbacks and how they kind of acted towards their quote unquote heir apparent. So, for Mason Rudolph for this to be his first off season, first OTAs and then minicamp and training camp without Ben Roethlisberger there. I mean, I'm sure he feels like he has in a lot of ways a new lease on life. He can be himself. He can be more of a leader. As he said in his interview the other day when he was talking to the press, it's a mostly young team now. There are a lot of those guys are younger than him, and he's still fairly young. So, this is a time for I think most teams, they want somebody at the quarterback position. They want that somebody to step up and lead the team. I think a lot of players, they're individuals. That they act as individuals. They're very active on social media. They all have their unique personalities, but I think most professional athletes are kind of, especially football players, it's ingrained in them that somebody has to step up and be the leader, and that's always the quarterback. It should be the quarterback. So there's an opportunity there for Rudolph to step up and grow as a leader, but obviously he's going to have to prove it on the field, and that'll be this training camp and of course in the preseason. But the odds are against him. There's no question. The odds are against him. With Trubisky there and especially Kenny Pickett. I mean, can't you draft a guy in the first round? The odds are against Mitch Trubisky being around beyond 2022. So, yeah, the odds are against Mason Rudolph, but I like the fact that he showed up and that he is still confident and still determined to win that starting job against all odds. And I think the fans should be, I know a lot of people don't like Mason Rudolph. I get it. I mean, I lived through it for 20 years, but every quarterback between Bradshaw and Ben, there was like almost a personal hatred. Like they didn't just hate the play on the field. They made it personal. So I get it. It's just the nature of being a fan. But there might be a time when we need Mason Rudolph. When I say we, I mean the fans, to be the Steelers quarterback. So, the fact that he's still in it mentally and emotionally, I think that's a great sign. So that's all I want to say about OTAs. And I want to talk about one more thing. Here's John. This is what I mean about John Funkner says that Chris Oladukin is better than Mason Rudolph. Based on what, John? Elaborate. You can't just throw that out there. I mean, it was good that you did, because sometimes I forget the greater than and less than sign, what it means. So I'm glad you put that up there. But based on what? What are you basing that? Because I've heard this before. They should just cut Mason Rudolph and Oladukin. I got to say his name right. Oladukin will be the third stringer. Yeah, but what if he's not good? What if he can't do anything on the football field once he puts on the Steeler helmet? What if he can't read a defense? What if he can't complete a pass? What if his accuracy is horrible? Based on what? Because he's the latest draft pick. That's what it's based on. And we all hate Mason Rudolph. When I say we, I mean you guys. I think it would be neat if he won the job, but I think it's going to be neat, a great story no matter who wins the job. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky. My thing has always been, what's best for the Steelers? That's okay by me. And, moving forward, Kenny Pickett's a great story. Mitch Trubisky is a great guy, and he could be a great redemption story. But moving forward from this point on, it's incumbent that the Steelers find the best guy for the job, starting quarterback. So, and Steeler Chick 46. This is why I love you guys. When John Funkner got me all upset, he said my own predictions. Okay, so at least he elaborated. Well, that's it. Thank you, John. When he got me all riled up about Mason Rudolph, I was going to talk about the new GM, Omar Khan. He was named the new general manager this week. He beat out 15 other candidates. It's funny, 2-3 years ago, when the talk of replacing and retiring Kevin Colbert came up, Omar Khan was the first person people talked about. He's the vice president of, or he was the vice president of football administration, quote unquote. He's a numbers guy. He's the one who he's the salary cap guru. He helps negotiate contracts. He's been with the team for 21 years. But I mean, he was the first guy people thought of as a successor to Kevin Colbert. And then you start hearing other names like Brandon Hunt, who's also an excellent candidate and was with the organization for a while, and he interviewed. But then once Kevin Colbert made it official that he was stepping down, they went out and did an extensive search for the new person. And I get it. I mean, this is a very big deal. So you want to be as thorough as possible. And, Tom Donahoe and Kevin Colbert, they've been the only ones really that have held this title. I mean, Donahoe he was never officially the GM, but he essentially was, working alongside Cowher and Noel before Cowher. But officially, this is only the second time in the history of the franchise that they had to find the general manager. And actually, this is the first time that they went looking for a general manager when the title existed within their organization, because it didn't exist when Kevin Colbert was hired back in 2000. So it was a very big deal. So they had to be very thorough in their search. But the person that, just like, those love songs always say, the person they were looking for was right in front of them all along, and it was Omar Khan. And I mean, I like it. I mean, a lot of people were apprehensive because they think he's just a quote unquote numbers guy. And believe me, first of all, I doubt they would have hired Omar Khan to be their new GM if they thought he was just a numbers guy and that he would handle that side of it. And they brought in Andy Weidel as the assistant GM. He spent time with the Ravens, Eagles, won a couple championships, I think. I know he won one with the Eagles. I think he won one with the as part of the Ravens too. But anyway, he's a very well thought of football guy, personnel guy, and they signed him on to be the assistant GM. But I doubt they would have hired Omar Khan if they just wanted him to stick to the numbers side and have somebody like Weidel be the personnel man and make all those decisions. No, they hired Omar Khan because they think he can do the job of GM, which encompasses so much. It's not just about personnel, by the way. It's about you gotta deal with the coaches. You got to deal with the day-to-day operations of the franchise. You have to deal with disciplinary issues with the players. You have to be out in front of everything. I mean, you have to have your hand in everything from personnel, scouting, coaching. Overseeing the coaching staff. Even like the day-to-day, who the secretary is, who works for the secretary. There's everything. It involves, like Bill Cowher said in his book last year when he was head coach. He never realized that being a head coach meant you managed everything. You were responsible for everything, not just coaching, but everything. And that's what a GM is too. They're responsible for every single facet of that organization. It's not just personnel, it's everything. So, again, I doubt they would have hired Omar Khan if they thought he knew nothing about personnel. The guy's been in football for 25 years. I'm sure he's picked up a thing or two when it comes to evaluating talent. So, make no mistake about it. He's going to be the GM. It's going to be a collaborative effort, but it's always been a collaborative effort. They've made no secret about it. Whenever you talk to Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, Art II, going back Dan Rooney, they've always talked about it being a collaborative effort. They talked about how much Brandon Hunt was involved in player personnel. Bill Nunn all those years ago as a scout. It's always been a collaborative effort with the Steelers. What did Mike Tomlin say once? It's not about who has the idea. It's about the idea and whether or not it's a good idea. So, but Omar Khan is still going to be he's the GM. They're not going to compartmentalize everything. And otherwise, why would they even have hired him as the GM? So, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about, the day-to-day operations of a football team. So it's hard for me to say whether or not I think it's a good hire. I think it's a good hire, but whether or not I think it's a bad hire, that's the opinion of a lot of people. I don't know why you would think that, because none of us really can see what goes on in the day-to-day operations of a professional sports team. So I like his experience. I like obviously what he's been able to do with the salary cap and contract negotiations. So he's definitely somebody who knows the inner workings of the franchise, and he's definitely someone who has a great relationship with Mike Tomlin, which is important. He has a great relationship with Art II, which is important, and he knows the quote unquote Steeler way. So from that perspective, it's a good hire. As far as what it means for the franchise for the future, I guess we'll have to find out. I mean, it's. I think people forget that when it comes to even executive positions like this, it's there's a learning curve, and I fully expect if Omar Khan sticks around, I fully expect him to be a much better GM 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road than he is in the beginning. Not to say he's going to be bad, but I certainly expect him, if he's somebody who was good enough to stick with the team since 2001, if he's good enough to be a high-ranking executive in the NFL since 1997, then I am fully confident that he's going to be able to become a really good general manager, and he has a good team around him. He has a great owner. He has a great coach. He seems to be surrounding himself with a great staff, and Andy Weidel and Sheldon White is his. I think he didn't say titles, but I believe he's going to be head of the scouting team. I don't know, but yeah, they seem to have a good team in place, and we'll see what happens. So I'm glad they made a decision. I'll tell you that much, because it had gone on for a while, and again, rightfully so. It's a big deal, but I'm glad they finally made a decision, and now they can move forward and prepare for the 2022 campaign. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're all excited about, is the 2022 campaign. So congratulations to Omar Khan. Good luck to Omar Khan. And hopefully you can hold on to the job for as long as your predecessor did, which would be a testament to the kind of job you didn't, it would be a testament to your talent. So that's all I had to say tonight. Now we'll take some questions and comments. And I'll start with Dallas Quinley. Are the Steelers going to miss James Washington? I don't. Not the James Washington that was here. They're not going to miss that guy. Now, if he goes on to be, TO 2.0, on the field anyway, then yeah, they'll miss him. But as of right now, there's really nothing to miss about James Washington other than the fact that he had a great work ethic, and he loved to fish and hunt, and that a lot of Steeler fans are into that kind of stuff. So he was relatable in that way. He was a hard worker. He was never in the limelight. He never said anything on social media. So in that regard, you might miss the person, but the player, I mean, not unless he drastically improves. Steeler Chick 46 says steaks or burgers. Burgers. I assume you mean for Memorial Day. Yeah, definitely a burger guy. Although I've been trying to eat more protein and less simple carbs lately, and it seems to be working. So I might have to take it easy this weekend. Let's see who else we have here. Wes Hickok joins us, the legendary Wes Hickok. Hello, Wes. Good to see you, man. All right. What else we have here? Steelers Pittsburgh says the Browns are the basement dwellers again. Well, that'd be funny, wouldn't it? Especially with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback and all the hype on them again. I think before the end of the summer, I bet you they're more hyped up than the Bengals, who are the defending AFC champions. You watch. Wes Hickok says about Omar Khan, I question his draft knowledge. Well, a lot of people do. But, I mean, he's been with Kevin Colbert for 20 years. So, I mean, I'm sure he's learned a lot from him as far as evaluating players and evaluating the draft and prospects. So, this is another one from Dallas Quinley. Another great question. Would DeMarvin Leal take Tuitt's job if Tuitt is a no-show this year? I mean, that's impossible to say right now. I mean, we don't know anything about DeMarvin Leal. But there are other candidates like obviously Chris Wormley, of course, Loudermilk and Carlos Davis, people like that. You can't really say, you can't predict anything about draft picks until you see what they do on the field. Sonia Wilson says the Browns are going to be unstoppable once Deshaun Watson is settled in. Well, that's certainly a popular sentiment. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Gil Whittet says, I still think the Steelers need to go out and get a CB1, to be honest. Well, I mean, where do you get CB1s? I mean, they don't grow on trees. I mean, who's floating around out there right now as a CB1? Joe Hayden, players of that caliber, that age. Not that Joe Hayden's a bad I love Joe Hayden, but I mean, who are you going to get right now? I mean, trade for somebody. I mean, that's going to cost a pretty penny. So I don't know who they would get. You just basically have to hope. And again, like I said a number of weeks ago, this is where the failure of Justin Lane to develop into anything by his fourth year. This is where that comes back to bite you. Former third-round pick. You figure a guy like that should, at the very least, be a starter for you by now. Probably in his second year as a starter. Yet he's basically just a special team. He barely plays as a backup. So, those CB1s don't grow on trees. So I don't know where you would get them. You would have to go out and swing a deal. And to be quite honest, I think they're comfortable with their secondary the way it is with Levi Wallace and Witherspoon and Cam Sutton as the corners and of course Minka and Terrell Edmonds is the safety, and then you have depth there. JamesPearce got some experience last year. We'll have to see how that's helped him to improve it, if he has improved at all. I mean, he lost his starting job by the end of the year. He lost to Witherspoon. So what has he learned? Because he was an undrafted free agent out of Florida International, I believe. And he played a little bit at the end of 2020, but obviously he played a lot last year, but he struggled, which is not uncommon for a young corner. So there's somebody we have to keep an eye on, because if he can develop into something, then maybe he could be your CB1. You don't know. You don't know where these guys can come from sometimes. Brian Brown says, remember when we all thought JamesPearce was going to be the guy? I think we were all optimistic and excited about him. I don't know if anybody truly thought he was going to be the guy. We were certainly excited about the potential, his athleticism, his size, everything like that. But he's an undrafted free agent. So, he took his lumps last year. What has he learned? Can he use that to get better? Can he use that to grow? How did he train in the offseason? So, he's somebody, maybe he can make a leap this year. He's someone to keep an eye on. Steelers Pittsburgh says Devin Bush should be playing with a chip on his shoulder because the Steelers didn't pick up his fifth-year option. Well, I mean, you saw the if you saw the social media videos he's posted within the last month or two, he definitely looks like he's gained his quickness back. The question is, has he gotten over the whatever it was that kept him from really being aggressive last year? Because people like Arthur Moats and I think even Ike Taylor, those kind of people, they said he did not show great effort last year. So if anybody would know, it's a former player. It's hard for me to look at a player and be able to determine if he's giving maximum effort, if he's taking a playoff. But these guys have been in the on NFL fields, and they've been in the in these battles, and they know what they're looking at. So Arthur Moat said it. So whatever it was that kept Devin Bush from being aggressive last year and being the player that he looked like he could be through the first 20 or so games of his career, hopefully he gets out. He gets over that, and he can continue to move towards being that impact player that they hoped he could be when they drafted him and gave up so much to move up 10 spots 3 years ago. And Brian Brown says, I'm ready for some Steelers football. I know that's one good thing about the NFL, Brian, and everybody else. It has a way of keeping you engaged all off season, sometimes for better or worse, but it keeps you engaged. And what is today? It's May 27th. And so we have 2 months before training camp. Before you know it, it'll be preseason, and then boom, it's the regular season. So we have 13 weeks to go before the regular season. It'll go by just like that. So I just wish the Pirates were good so I could have some baseball to watch or to be excited about anyway. Reginald Rivers, what's up, man? Reginald Rivers joins us. He says hello. And I don't know. I don't know if I have any more questions. And Steeler Chick 46 asked, "Is Hayden still a free agent?" He sure is. He sure is. And we talked about this on the Q&A with Kyle the other night. He probably wants a little bit more than teams are willing to give him at this stage of his career, because he was making around $8-9 million, somewhere in there, as a Steeler. And if he wants around that amount at this point, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but the market might say they don't want to pay. Like the market might determine that he's not worth it. So that's probably why he's unsigned. His sights are probably a little bit too high right now as far as salary, and maybe he has to come down a little bit at this stage of his career if he wants to keep playing football. So, yeah, he's still a free agent at this stage. Reginald Rivers, what free agent running back will the Steelers bring in? I'm not sure if they're going to bring anybody in, to be honest, Reginald. Obviously, Najee Harris is the bell cow. He's the workhorse. He got the vast majority of touches last year as a rookie. I don't see that changing all that much this year. Benny Snell looks like a perfectly fine backup. You have Anthony McFarland. You have a couple of undrafted free agents. So maybe they're just going to have youth as the depth for a young Najee Harris. I don't anticipate them bringing anybody in. There are always guys floating around, but I don't really see them doing that right now, barring an injury, of course. And Brian Brown asked, the Steelers had success making splash plays on special teams. Do you think that will continue? I certainly do. I'm drawing a blank. Who was the guy? The guy they brought in from Detroit, the safety, even though he's Miles Killebrew. Yeah, the guy is phenomenal. So I certainly expect him to continue to be an impact player on special teams, and I certainly anticipate him maybe blocking one or two punts again this year. So I certainly do. That was an emphasis last year, and that's where, it's often part of the game that people often forget is special teams, and that's why you can't just overlook the guys that are on that unit. So they seem to have a pretty good thing going on special teams now. They still have Gilbert the third back there, and I mentioned Justin Lane. Benny Snell is a good special teams player. They got this Mark Robinson, the seventh round pick. I mean, if he makes the team, he certainly looks like somebody who could be a special teams ace, hard hitter. If Cam's little brother makes the team, there's another candidate to be a special teams ace. Obviously, TJ Watt's brother Derek is a fantastic special teams player. So they definitely have some. Excuse me. They definitely have some good guys on that unit now. So I look for that to continue again in 2022. And on that note, I think I'm going to go to bed now. It was fun talking to you guys. If I don't see you till Monday, which I probably won't, you have a great Memorial Day, and I'll talk to you on Monday on the actual holiday with Brian and Shannon on The Hangover. But until then, have a great holiday and go Steelers.